on the jobs that are related to my skill sets in the areas where I wanted to search. The other thing that we can do is start to track what's going on with companies. So how many of you visit customers, visit partners on a regular basis? Okay, a handful of people. So what if I wanted to find out what was going on at a company when I was going to visit them? I wanted to see who's being promoted. What are they investing in? People tell you an awful lot of information, don't they? So here's promotions and changes at Bank of America. I can see that there's a bunch of systems engineers and a couple of, let's see, business managers. It's kind of interesting. I can see who's leaving. People who are leaving. Sorry.
Should be a bigger list than that.
Should be a bigger list than that. You would think so. Have you been tracking the financial services industry? So I can also see who's leaving Bank of America. What's going on there? Is this a company that I want to do business with based on the people that are leaving? Is it a company that I want to work for based on the people that are leaving? What does this tell me about what's going on there? And then new hires. Wow, this is an incredible piece of information right here. By seeing who is joining Bank of America, who they're hiring, you can start to get a sense for where they're making their investments, what's important to them strategically. How does this work out in practice? This is something that we picked up. We noticed that Apple had acquired a number of new hires, and as a result, we figured out an acquisition that they made. We have this incredible data set. And as a result, this is the kind of insight that you can get that makes you a lot more powerful and individual. When you're doing your research on a company or a person, there's a ton of data here that's incredibly useful. And then finally, social graph. So social graph, very simply, the networks that we have, the people that we know. How do we know these people? What is the 6 degrees of separation effect that we have within our networks? That's me in the middle of my professional network. By the way, these big, colorful spheres or things, those are actually my professional networks that are congregated by how the people within those networks know one another. So the density of a network, and this is available to you on LinkedIn as well, you can see how you know different people, where the concentrations of people with similar backgrounds are within your professional network. That's interesting information to me because I know that I can be useful to a certain group of people, and they can also be useful to me. So how does that work? These are the three things that we're thinking a lot about right now as far as making the network work for you. One is, how do we make sure that your identity gets in front of the right people for your network? How do we make sure that the information that arrives to you is information that's relevant based on what your network is looking at, based on what they're talking about? Insights, we want to make you great at what you do very, very regularly. And then we want to do it everywhere you do business. So increasingly, you're going to see LinkedIn insights that happen outside of LinkedIn. And I'll show you an example or two of that. So here's one quick and easy thing that you can do. If you have a company page or you're associated with somebody who has a company page, you can put a LinkedIn widget on that company page that provides insight to someone who arrives at your page. This is the page that TiVo developed for their careers website. They wanted to make it easy for people to figure out who they knew at TiVo through their LinkedIn networks. And so all you have to do is when you arrive at this page, you just scroll over, see who you know at TiVo, and you get a sense for who your LinkedIn network connections are that work for that company. What's your in? Who are your insights that are there, and what can they tell you about working with TiVo? This is something that you can offer to your own company. Anyone seen this thing before?
Yeah.
The LinkedIn widget for Lotus Notes? Yeah, all right. The coffee wearing off right now? that was pretty weak, I gotta tell you. So the LinkedIn widget for Lotus Notes, this is something that you can add into Lotus Notes as a download, and every time you pull up an email from Anybody who's within your LinkedIn network, it'll pop up their LinkedIn profile right next to their email. Context, insights, sensitive data, that's helpful. Super easy thing to do. What if we were to take that data and we were to make it super relevant to you? You know what really frustrates me is when I go and I buy a newspaper, I think I read about a quarter of the newspaper because I don't really care about the rest of it. Some of the information interesting to me, a lot of it not very interesting to me. So what we said was, what if we could create for you a newspaper that based on what we know about you, the data that we have about your LinkedIn profile, and the people that you're connected to through your professional network, we delivered you the right information every day. We call that newspaper LinkedIn Today. And this is also a free part of our site. On LinkedIn Today, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what your network is reading and people with similar backgrounds to you, what they're reading. And we're going to put that all on one page for you, and then you can read that information for yourselves. What if you wanted to tweak this and you just wanted to look at the computer software industry? Well, now we've created separate LinkedIn Today sections that are specific to industries that are interesting to you. Our goal to channel all of these insights to you in as seamless a way as possible so that you have just the information that you want when you want it, that's relevant based on your background and based on your network. And so ultimately, where this whole thing is going is as we continue to acquire more information and get our current members more engaged on LinkedIn, we'll have better data, and with that better data, we'll be able to deliver you more relevant, more interesting insights everywhere where you work and in a way that's useful to you immediately. The idea being, let's make you more successful and productive. And with that, thank you. Appreciate it.
I saw the agenda for this morning. I was surprised that I actually had half as much time as David. And we didn't collaborate on our presentations. I saw your slides for the first time as you were presenting them. But he did half of my presentation. And Richard must have known that was going to happen since I'm talking about social business. I saw a lot of things that were very common, very consistent, because we're both looking at the same market. We're looking at the way that consumer web services, consumer social networks like Twitter and Facebook are influencing the enterprise, and we're drawing a lot of the same conclusions. So I thought that was pretty cool. There are a lot of things in here that I think you'll see common themes. What I want to talk about this morning is what you've been hearing. Greg made a great comment. We used to call it collaboration. Now it's called social business. There's a lot of truth to that. I think we beat the term collaboration to death pretty effectively over the last 20 years or so at Lotus. But it's more than that now. Before that, it was groupware, right? What is groupware? It's a dessert topping. It's a floor wax, right? It's all of those things and more. But social business brings those two things together. We're collaborating with people, we have a social element, but we're doing business, whatever the business that we're in is. And I'm going to give you some examples, some successes our customers have had. I'll use us as an example a fair amount, because IBM's had a lot of success with social business internally in the journey we've been on for the last few years. Since every good presentation includes many lists of threes, you'll see several of them in my presentation as well. I like David's context data and social graph. The changes that we see influencing why companies, organizations, whether they're for-profit or government or nonprofits, are that the world's changing in three ways. One is that it's becoming more instrumented. We can't even update our presentations fast enough to keep up with statistics and the trends in the market, because the prediction up there that smartphones would outpace PC shipments in 2012, that actually happened in the first quarter of this year. More smartphones went into the market than PCs or netbooks. That the mobile is becoming the primary platform. That really hit home for me a few weeks ago. I was in Cincinnati, Ohio, doing one of our Get Social roadshows in a hotel, and we had thunderstorms and the power went out. Many of you ever been in a hotel when the power goes out? At home, you know where the candles are, you know where the flashlight is, you know where everything is at, you feel, hotel, you're like, this is very uncomfortable. And everyone's had the same instinct that they would go out into the hallway to see what was going on. Well, when I got out in the hallway, What I saw were all these little glowing rectangles, and everyone using their smartphone device, whatever it was, iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, as their flashlight to find the stairs and go down and find out what was happening. And that was when I knew that mobile devices were useful finally. We all have a flashlight when the power goes out in the hotel. Those mobile devices are also enabling us to spend a lot of time on social networks like Twitter. 22% of all of our online time now is being spent in these social contexts. It's not the Web 1.0 push of browsing brochureware and looking at a company's annual report or what their products are online, but interacting with others. And that's creating a huge amount of data online. That's the third piece of it. The intelligence is extracting the meaning from all the data that our digital footprints are leaving as we participate in all these social contexts. So if those three things are true, that the world's becoming more instrumented, more intelligent, more interconnected, what do we do about it? One of the things we need to do about it is we need to apply some analytics. If our customers are spending time in these repositories and these communities talking about our products or our services, how do I get the benefit of that? How do I know what they're saying and turn it into action? Improve my product, improve my services. All of these social tools, web services, and capabilities like we provide at Lotus are changing the way we have to think about systems. 20 years ago or so, there was still such thing as what we called a big blue shop. That was someone who was all IBM from top to bottom, right? Those days are long gone. Everyone is a multi-vendor, heterogeneous environment. They have investments with us, with Microsoft, with Oracle, with everyone under the sun, and those things need to interconnect. Not just inside their organization, but with other organizations, outside the firewall. So we have to think about these things as modular, as a system of systems. And then the third one, and this is why I think it's such a great time to be in the collaboration of the social space, is because all of the problems that organizations are facing, or challenges, if you want to use the PC word, whether you're in healthcare, or financial services, or you're in manufacturing, they're not going to be solved by one person. They're going to be solved by a team of people working together. And they're probably not going to be in the same place. They may not even be in the same time zone, or the same country, or speak the same language. They've got to collaborate effectively in order to solve those problems. So now we're talking about social business. David gave the same kind of definition that I give when I talk about Web 2.0. Web 1.0 was a push. The first iteration of the web was brochureware, effectively. Here are the pictures of our founders. Here's a picture of our building. I'm not sure why anybody really cared about that. Here are our business hours. But there was no interaction. There was no upstream communication. And when we say social business, it's a refinement of Web 2.0, which is people connecting to other people, not people connecting to data and information. So if you feel like your application, your product, if you're a business partner in the room, isn't really in that social business medium yet, just think about it as the way that we're describing Web 2.0. It's a refinement. Web 2.5, if you will. How many of you know that IBM gives away the best information that we have available? Now we charge you guys for software, right? But we give away a lot of really useful information. Richard's going to kill me because I'm going to risk killing the Wi-Fi network. But Google this right now, if you're one of the folks in the room with a wireless device. The IBM Institute for Business Value. Anyone ever heard of that? IBIV before? This is where we give away all the work that our best and brightest do in IBM Business Consulting. Anyone looked at our CEO surveys that we do every year? Or we've now started to do Chief Marketing Officer surveys, Chief Human Resource Officer surveys. All of the information those business consulting teams gather, we give away in the format of those reports. And that's pretty cool, but we further segment it, and a lot of people don't know this, by industry. So if you're in financial services, if you're in manufacturing, if you're in government, whatever your business function is, you can go out and find a report that's specific to your industry. It says, here are the business challenges your industry is facing, and here are the ways that they are succeeding. All of these reports focus on what we call standout organizations. What's a standout organization? Standout organizations outperform their peers in business performance. Better revenue, higher profitability, higher market cap, the things that your CFO cares about, your CEO cares about. That's a standout organization. So in our 2010 CEO survey, 95% of the organizations that we term standouts,